Vidyam cha vidyam cha yastad vedo bhayam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya mritamashnute. Vidyam, knowledge in fact, cha, and, avidyam, nescience, cha, and, yaha, a person who, tat, that, veda, knows, ubhayam, both, saha, simultaneously, avidyaya, by culture of nescience, mrityum, repeated death, tirtva, transcending, vidyaya, by the culture of knowledge, amritam, deathlessness, ashnute, enjoys. Translation: only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. So there is a process of nescience, that how the nescience is applied to oneself and others, that is the process, and that of transcendent knowledge also. But by transcendent knowledge, one can transcend Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi and enjoy the full blessings of Amritam, immortality. So there are two things, and the results of both things are different. Purport: since the creation of the material world, everyone has been trying to attain a permanent life. We can see now also scientists are hardly struggling to transcend the death, and even Mr. Disney, he also tried that keep my body, dead body, and I keep so much money, and you try to revive me, put up a lab, and they tried, they could not do it. They came together and they just said, just bury him, and they did it, and the money was with them. But the laws of nature are so cruel. Cruel means just. They are right, but according to the plan of a materialist, they look cruel. That no one has been able to avoid the hand of death. That's why we say, as sure as death. No one wants to die, nor does anyone want to become old or even diseased. Nobody likes all these things. That's why they are the real problems. Nobody wants them. Everybody has to face it. The law of nature, however, does not allow anyone immunity from old age, disease or death. There is one kind of immunity available for disease or old age. You die before that. That is not immunity. That is part of the problem. Nor has the advancement of material knowledge solved these problems. They are doing so much research, but no research is going in the direction of birth, old age, disease and death. They say that they have vaccine for one thing, and new disease comes and defeats lakhs of people. And then that vaccine, to get that vaccine, there is a big game. And we can see in the market now what's going on. Material science can discover the nuclear bomb to accelerate the process of death. They got the bomb, they got the deaths. They killed millions of people, and now everybody is fearful of atomic bomb and hydrogen bomb and like that. But it cannot discover anything that can protect man from the cruel hands of old age, disease and death. They are just helping us, that previously people, they will be sick, they will get some kind of disease, and they will die at home, maybe without medicine sometimes. And nowadays they go to ICU, then ICCU, an operation theatre of big hospitals, and with in 9 holes they have 10 pipes, and with that 10 pipe, which pipe he went, nobody knows, and with medicine they die. So this is the development of modern science. So what is the science? We have to understand now. From the Puranas we learn the activities of Hiranyakashipu, who is still active and through the demoniac people. A king who was very much advanced materially. He has more sophisticated hospitals than they have now, wanting to conquer cruel death by his material acquisitions and the strength of his nescience. He has nescience, and that nescience was so much that he became very powerful. And he underwent a type of meditation to severe that the inhabitants of all the planetary systems became disturbed by his mystic powers. So he tried. He forced the creator of the universe, Lord Brahma, to come down to him. He then asked Brahma for the benediction of becoming Amara. Amara means deathless, immortal. So he tried to get that kind of blessing by which one never dies. Brahma said that he could not award such kind of benediction because even he himself, the material creator, the secondary creator of the universe, who rules all the planets, is not Amara. A means without, Mara means death. He is not without death. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 8.17. Sahasra yuga paryantam aharyat brahmano viduhu ratrim yuga sahasrantam deho ratravido janaha. Brahma lives a very long time. That is only his one day, that is half of the day, 12 hours of hours like that. For him is 1000 Divya Yugas on our level. And one Divya Yuga is Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali put together. So that kind of 1000 Divya Yugas make his daytime, and similarly 1000 Yuga cycle makes his night time. But that does not mean that he is immortal. He stays for a very long time. But that very long time is just one breath of the Supreme Lord. And the Brahmanda is also called as Hiranya. And in case of Hiranyakashipu, Hiranya means gold and Kashipu means soft bed. This cunning gentleman, Hiranyakashipu, was interested in these two things: money and women, gold and Sharira Sukha, the pleasures of body. And he wanted to enjoy them by becoming immortal. Now he has everything. He has Hiranya and he is Kashipu. He is Hiranyakashipu. He has men and women. Now what he wants? Unlimited time. That is immortality. So he asked from Brahma. But the point itself is defined that if he is asking for immortality, that means he is not immortal on material plane. Spiritually he is immortal, but materially he is not. But then a beggar is a beggar, so he went to Brahma for many benedictions in hopes of indirectly fulfilling his own desire, because the direct desire of immortality was not getting satisfied. So he said, let me not die on the daytime, night time, by weapon, by astra, shastra, these, that, so many things. Just to put the same word, immortality, in different way. Since Brahma told him that he could not grant the gift of immortality, so he requested that I should not be killed by man, animal, god, or any other living being within 84 lakh species. He thought that this number is locked and it will never be crossing it. Not a single species will come more. That was his confidence of his so-called knowledge. He also asked that he not die on land, in air, water, or by any weapon. And in this way, Hiranyakashipu foolishly thought these guarantees would save him from death. People think if they have LIC, have this, that, then a lot of things can happen. If I have good job, good money, good bank account, all these things will surely help me. All this collection just helps to pay the bill to the people who are not going to save us, doctors, lawyers, and others. Ultimately, however, although Brahma granted him all those funny benedictions, still he was killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Nrsimha, the Lord's half lion, half man incarnation. And no weapon was used to kill him, for he was killed by the Lord's nail. Tava kara kamalavare nakham adbhuta shringam. That, O Lord Nrsimha, Prahlad is saying, your nakham is so sundar, so beautiful. This nakha is like kamala petals, the petals of sweet, soft lotus flower. And with these soft lotus petals, what you are doing? You are tearing the chest of Hiranyakashipu, like bringam. It is very amazing. The analogy is so good, done by Jaydev Goswami. He says the bringer easily can penetrate on even the hardest of the bark of trees. So easily it can puncture it. And that bringam, if it is caught by the sweet nectar coming from a lotus flower, and he just goes inside and he is mesmerized, intoxicated, he goes in the evening and the flower then closes for the night. And because of the so much sweet smell coming inside that small room of a lotus flower, and it is so soft and tender petals of that flower, but he cannot penetrate that and come out so easily. So in that intoxicated state, he without breath dies so pitiably. So this is the glory of Lord Hiranyakashipu. With such kind of soft petals, almost like he killed the bringam, the wasp, the big beetle. So Lord similarly, although he is so soft as Lord Nrsimhadev for Prahlad, but just by his nakha, he teared open the chest of Hiranyakashipu and finished him off. So all the benedictions were saved, which were given by Lord Brahma, that nor he will be killed on the land, air, water, but he was killed on the lap of Lord Nrsimha, not inside or outside, but just the door of that palace, and he was not in the daytime, not night time. It was a twilight period, evening Sandhya period, and not by a man or lion, but it was half man, half lion. So Lord can do so amazing things. The whole point is here that even Hiranyakashipu, the most powerful materialist, a great scientist of that time, an administrator, could not become deathless by his various plans. What then can be accomplished by the teeny Hiranyakashipus of today? That teeny means they are so teeny that even Hiranyakashipu will not consider them even as living entities, that many small, whose plans are thwarted from moment to moment. That even all the great bombs are put together, they can't explode the entire earth. So earth is so huge, big and powerful. What to talk of the cosmos? This is just impossible. So many attempts have already been done, and they have been thwarted terribly by the plans of the Lord. So Shri Ishopanishad instructs us not to make one-sided attempts or plans to win the struggle for existence. Everyone is struggling hard for existence, but the laws of material nature are so hard and fast that they do not allow anyone to surpass them. And because we are encaged in material body, so we have got all the limitations in this software called as material world. So we can't break open this software or hardware. We are just stuck inside. In order to attain a permanent life, to go beyond the system, one must be prepared to go back to God, which is beyond this jail of Maya Shakti, Durga Devi, the Shashvata Dham for all the great jivas who stay with the Supreme Lord. And the process by which one goes back to God is a different branch of knowledge, and it has to be learnt from revealed Vedic scriptures such as Upanishad, Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. To become happy in this life and attain a permanent blissful life after leaving this material body, one must study this sacred literature and obtain transcendental knowledge, and not just hear but to practice it. The conditioned living being has forgotten his eternal relationship, Sambandha, with the Supreme Lord, and has mistakenly accepted the temporary place of his birth as all in all. The Lord has kindly delivered the above mentioned scriptures in India and other scriptures in other countries to remind the forgetful human being that his home is not here in this material world. The living being is a spiritual entity, not of this world. We are not a material product of a material system, but we are a spiritual product of the spiritual supreme being. And we can be only happy by returning to our spiritual home. A baby out of the home with anybody outside is not safe and can never become happy, because potentially we are only to be happy. We are prone to be just happy only in the association of our real mother and real father, and there is no happiness other than that. From his kingdom, the Supreme Personality of Godhead sends his bona fide servants to propagate this same message, by which one can return back to Godhead. And sometimes the Lord comes himself to do this work. Since all living beings are his beloved sons, his parts and parcels, God is more sorry than we ourselves to see the sufferings we are constantly undergoing in this material condition. Lord is not happy that we are here, but then even we are not happy, but still we are adamant enough that we don't want to go out from this place, and that is our real suffering, that we don't have that desire to go back to God. Until that time, Lord cannot help us much, so we need to develop the desire to attain the Lord. That's why it is a laulyam api ek mulyam. The desire, the greed to attain the Supreme Lord is the only qualification. The miseries of this material world we see and we get so much tormented with, but they serve to indirectly remind us of our incompatibility with dead matter. Because we are not matter, we cannot adjust with matter. We finally need the liberated existence which is supremely transcendental, and with that kind of atmosphere and that kind of existence of a spiritual body, we can unlimitedly serve the Supreme Lord without any limitation. In this world, our first limitation is our own material body. That is the biggest limitation in this world. We want to do something unlimited, undefinable, unfathomable, unlimitedly great, something wonderful. But that is just not possible, because what we have got is highly limited. Time we have got is limited. Capacity limited. Daiva, destiny limited. And all these resources of this material world, they assemble and disassemble. They prakat and aprakata. So even that cycle of time is fast moving. And that's why we can see our material bodies are constantly changing every moment. The surroundings we have, we make the plans and go to the market, and the market is already changed. So this is the real suffering. The constant changing nature of this world is always challenging us. And these material conditions are constantly like that. The only constant thing in this world is the change. That's why the miseries of this material world serve to indirectly remind us that we are not the product of this dead matter and we need to move out. That is the real message. Intelligent living entities generally take note of these reminders, Sumedasaha, and engage themselves in the culture of Vidya. Kalau tad hari kirtanat. What is the Vidya for this age? Kalau, in the age of Kali, tad hari kirtanat. Only in the assembly of devotees who are doing Hari Kirtan, the transcendental knowledge is attained, and those who are Sumedasa, the people with high intellectual capacity, understand that in the age of Kali, the Nama Sankirtan is the only way, Harir Nam Eva Kevalam. Kalau Nasti Eva Anyatha. There is no other means of attaining knowledge and transcending the material existence. Human life is the best opportunity. It's like a boat to transcend the material samsara. And who is the captain? The captain is Acharya. And what are the favorable breezes? The instructions of Bhagavatam, holy name and spiritual knowledge. And a human being who does not take advantage of this wonderful opportunity is certainly to be called as Naradhama, the lowest Adhama of mankind, Naradhama. And the path of avidya, or the advancement of only so-called material knowledge, only for sense gratification, is the path of repeated birth and death. Always come, go, and again come. Bhutva bhutva praliyate. And as he exists spiritually, the living entity has no death or any birth again. Punarjanma na vidyate. One will not take birth again. Birth and death apply to the outward covering of the spiritual soul. That is material body. Death is compared to taking off, and birth to the putting on the outward garments. Vasam shijirnani yatha vihaya navani grihnati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. Foolish human beings who are grossly absorbed in the culture of avidya, their science, do not mind this cruel process because they are followers of avidya. So it doesn't matter for them that things are not working, but still they keep struggling like a Shudra, a fool, to try to fit the whole thing. But then it's beyond the capacity of the foolish human beings. Enamored with the beauty of illusory energy, they undergo the same miseries repeatedly and do not learn any lessons from the laws of nature. This is another difficulty. Although they are thwarted thousands and millions of times, but still again and again they try and get again entangled. They try to transcend the material energy, they can't do it. The only sutra is Mama eva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. If you surrender to my lotus feet, then only you can transcend the miseries. Therefore, the culture of Vidya or transcendental knowledge is essential for the human being. Knowledge first, realizations later. Sense enjoyment in the diseased material condition must be restricted as far as possible. Like in Ayurveda, they say Pathya is 50% of the medicine. If you can avoid from the wrong situation, wrong food and wrong association, then 50% of your problem is solved naturally, and 50% job will be done by the medicine. So if the pathya or restriction is not followed, then medicine cannot help us. It can't help us. Unrestricted sense enjoyment in this bodily condition is the path of ignorance and death. This body is not for karma, enjoyment. It is for yoga, to connect ourselves to the Supreme and serve His lotus feet with knowledge and amrityum, that means eternally, transcendently. The living entities are not without the spiritual senses. They all have their spiritual senses. As the material body has the senses, spiritual body has spiritual senses. And with those spiritual senses, we can function spiritually. Every living being in his original spiritual form has all the senses, which are now materially manifested. And materially they are covered with matter. So naturally, although the spiritual senses are unlimited, but because of the material senses acquired on it, like putting up the gloves, then it restricts the movement of the original hand. So similarly, this material hand is not allowing us to fulfill the spiritual desires of the spirit soul, being covered by the material body and mind. So there are two kinds of gloves. One is the subtle body and one is gross body. The activities of material senses are perverted reflections of the activities of the original spiritual senses. The activities of material senses are reflections, but they are perverted, ulta, and vikruta. Vikruta pratibimba of the activities of the original spiritual person in the spiritual world. The Lord has a wonderful leela with gopis, and here in this world the sex life is a dirty reflection of the same, and is very, very painful in this material world. Similarly, eating is so glorious and happy thing in the spiritual world, but in this world eating or wrong eating goes to give us so much pain, suffering, and so many diseases come out. So in his diseased condition, the spirit soul engages in material activities under the material covering, and real sense enjoyment is possible only when the disease of materialism is removed. In our pure spiritual form, free from all material contamination, a real enjoyment of the senses is possible. A patient must regain his health before he can truly enjoy sense pleasure again. That's why they are kept in first, they go to ICU, then they may get operated, and after that from ICU they come to the normal general ward. They don't directly come out. They first come to the normal ward, and then they recover, and then they can come home. So similarly, our material disease also has to be cured step by step, and then he can come back to the normal condition. Thus the aim of human life should not be to enjoy perverted sense enjoyment, but to cure the material disease. Aggravation of material disease is no sign of knowledge. What the modern science does, so-called technology of hospital, they give us medicine, but what is the medicine? Medicine is just a painkiller, and the disease is, as usual, it's there inside. Only patch-up work is done, and when the painkiller doesn't act after some time, all the pain is out, all the disease is as it is. So that is the difficulty. Obviously painkiller has to be given, but then we should have a medicine to repair the thing, and that is not given. So modern materialistic propaganda is the patch-up solutions. They show that they are giving a solution, but then no solution is applicable. Only material facilities, but the real problems remain as it is, and no spiritual knowledge is given. So what next? What after death? And what till death? So these questions they don't have. That's why so many people are losing their life. because of not having the purpose. To be or not to be is the only question. So that is the only question these people have. And a devotee is thinking how much I can do, how I can do the service. These kind of questions devotees have. But those who are following the science of the culture of nescience, they have the question whether to be or not be. That is their question. So these kind of material disease we can see. Just a sign of avidya, ignorance. For good health, a person should not increase his fever from 105 to 107 degree. Actually, he should reduce and come back to the normal temperature of 98.6 degree Fahrenheit. So that should be the aim of human life, to come back to normal. Not come back to zero or not go beyond 105. The modern trend of material civilization is to increase the temperature of the feverish material condition, and which has reached the point of 107 degree in the form of atomic energy. And forget about the bomb. Just by having these nuclear reactors, and they are doing energy power plant generation. But then what is the result? The result is disaster. Terrible disasters we are facing in Russia, we are facing in Japan and many other places. Meanwhile, the foolish politicians are crying that at any moment the world may go to hell. It's already in hell. When it will go to hell? And that is the result of the advancement of material knowledge, so-called material knowledge, and the neglect of the most important aspect of the culture of spiritual knowledge. So that is not followed. So Shri Ishopanishad herein is warning us that we must not follow this dangerous path leading to death. On the contrary, we must develop the culture of spiritual knowledge so that we may become completely free from the cruel hands of death. This does not mean that all activities for the maintenance of the body should be stopped. Minimum has to be done because we are in the material world. We can't say we don't want food, we don't want water, we don't want light. We can't say that because we are working under the conditions of matter here. So although we are not matter, but we are stuck up in matter now. So to be here in this atmosphere, to function, we will have to take the minimum support of the matter, and that cannot be avoided. So that should be taken, but that should be taken only for the service of the Lord and not otherwise. So there is no question of stopping our activities, just as there is no question of wiping out one's temperature. We don't have to completely give up the temperature altogether when trying to recover from the disease. To make the best use of bad bargain is the appropriate expression. The culture of spiritual knowledge necessitates the help of the body and mind. We need gross body to be rightly functioning, and even the subtle body, mind, intelligence and false ego. Therefore, the maintenance of the body and mind is required if we are to reach out to our goal, back home, back to God. Unless we do proper sadhana, then we may give up this body, but then we will be awarded another body and another body. And this cycle doesn't stop just by change of body, because we have changed so many bodies. But then we have to come to the transcendental body platform. Until that, we will keep getting some kind of body. The normal temperature should be maintained. Once you get it, first you get it. And once you get it, you maintain it. That is 98.6 degree Fahrenheit. And the great sages and saints of India, Bharatavarsha, have always attempted to do this by a balanced program of spiritual and material knowledge. Vidyamcha avidyamcha yastad vedo bhayam saha. So we should know the material knowledge enough to deal with that. If we don't have that knowledge, we can't deal with material energy. Like we should know what is the good use of electricity, and we should know what wrong can happen with the electricity. Vidyamcha avidyamcha. And then we should select the vidya that we know where to put the finger, how to put the plug, and where to put the hand so that we don't get electric current, how the wire works, and there should be a covering to it, some plastic material, and how to use equipments. So all these, so many services we can render taking advantage of electrical energy. But then if we don't know the avidya part, then we may get an electric shock, and we all have got some kind of experience in our life. I have got so many times small and kind of big shocks, but by that we understand the nature of avidya. We understand the other side of electricity. It is powerful, that means it is powerful for us also. It can do powerful work, but it can powerfully trouble us also. So everything that is material in this world has two edges. Because the matter itself is dead, it can be used for a good function or bad function. It always depends on the conscious human being or conscious living being to decide what kind of use should be done of that particular material thing. It can be used to help oneself and others, and it can be used to harm ourselves and others. So as a obedient follower of the Supreme Lord, we should follow his true nature to make benefit for oneself and for others. And for that, first we have to come to this normal temperature, and then we have to maintain it. So to come to this temperature, we have to get the wonderful association of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, and do the bhajana kriya, practice devotion, chant and understand these transcendental scriptures, and by that we will come back to the normal temperature of becoming a good devotee. And after becoming a devotee, we have to maintain this platform of devotee and serve nicely. And as Baho Gyan Tapasa Puta Madbhava Magata, the great sages and saints of India, they have followed the path and have attained the transcendental success. So we can also get, but provided we have to follow them. They never allow the misuse of human intelligence for diseased sense gratification, because the sense gratification in diseased state is not sense gratification, it is foolishness. Like somebody who has already damaged liver and still he is drinking alcohol, will finish him very fast. So that kind of sense gratification is not helpful. Human activities diseased by a tendency towards sense gratification have been regulated by the Vedas under the authority of Ved Vyasji with the principles of salvation. Everything is given to regulate and step by step move ahead. That is Varnashrama Vyavastha, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Sannyasi, Vanaprastha, Grihastha, Brahmachari. So this is a step by step given process from a completely mundane consciousness to transcending consciousness. It slowly gets us there, and devotion is the pivotal thing that matures over the system. So this system employs the development on material plane also, that is dharma, artha, kama, and then get spiritual moksha. But at the present moment, people have no interest in religion or salvation. They have only one aim in life, sense gratification. And in order to achieve this end, they make so many plans for economic development. Online, offline, direct marketing, so many things are going on. But with all this money, people are not happy. There is money, there are resources, but still there is no happiness. These misguided men think that religion should be maintained because it contributes to economic development. They think if there is one common group, then everybody will follow that particular thing. A particular religion says that we can eat pigs, okay, so pig can be marketed. Economically it becomes easy. And then some religion says the cow cannot be eaten, okay, then that cannot be eaten, so that cannot be marketed in that way. So dharma only for artha. It's not arthaya dharma, but actually it's dharmaya artha. money is required to perform dharma. It should not happen that dharma is only followed to get the money. But the material consciousness is people only follow some kind of dharma to get only artha. And why artha or money? For kama, sense gratification. And why kama? Because they don't have any desire of moksha. They don't want moksha. So asuric varnashram means there is no dharma, there is adharma. And there is no artha, there is only anartha. Black money or just paper money, no gold, is all duplicate. It's useless currency. And with that anartha, the sense gratification is kama, is just vikarma. And there is no question of moksha. They only attain bandhana, that is karma bandhana. And they don't find moksha, they come back again in this material world with another material body of a lower grade. So this is asuric varnashram. Thus, in order to guarantee further sense gratification after death, if they have desire for heaven, they have to follow dharma. That system is called as the varnashram system to satisfy the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and by his blessing one can get a higher degree, grade of heavenly sense gratification, but that is Svargaloka, not here. Even if you want better sense gratification, go to Svargaloka and enjoy there. Don't try to do it here, because here is just do dharma and go back to Godhead. So this is like a air station, airport. From there you catch a flight and go up or go down wherever. So this is the powerful place of dharma, that is Ilavrita Varsha, Bharata Khanda, Bharata Bhumi, is very glorious. Svarga Dapi Gariyasi is more powerful than Svarga, because from here one can go directly back to Godhead without facing even heavenly themselves. So that is the glorious opportunity available. So if one just gets into the sense gratification without religious or spiritual development, then he is not fulfilling the mission of his material body, that is human birth. And the path of religion is actually meant for self-realization. One should always struggle for self-realization, not self-aggrandizement. One should not just get entangled in matter. And economical development just to maintain the body. Yavat jivet sukham jivet, that is charvak money. Just eat for living and just live for eating. That is not good. But live to perfect our consciousness and attain the Supreme Lord. A man should lead a healthy life with a sound mind, just to realize Vidya, the transcendental true knowledge of the Supreme Lord. And that is the aim of human life. This life is not meant for working like ass, gadha, or for culturing avidya for sense gratification. So one should take shelter of the Supreme Lord and go ahead amazingly on this path. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,